Hi everybody, Brian from Bearable Traders here. It's the weekend, July 22nd, and this is the weekend video. We'll take a look at what happened last week, and there was lots of interesting stuff going on that we'll go through, and then of course we'll look ahead. We got a lot of interesting stuff coming up this week too. FOMC decision, rate decision, lots of earnings on deck, and of course inflation indicator coming up on Friday. So let's get down to it and start talking about it. All right, so let's start out as we always do, looking at a quick review of the week, July 17th. Earnings season really kicking into high gear. We had some of the big financials. They came out a week ago Friday, and then we had some more Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and pretty strong earnings from all of them. A lot of the big financials just showed an increase in deposits, which was a reflection of a lot of people moving their money out of the regionals and into institutions they thought was a little more safe. So good numbers overall, and the XLF responded, the financial ETF responded accordingly. On the flip side, Tesla and Netflix, a couple of big tech stocks that have been leading us higher, they also reported, but trading down on concerning issues. Like, for example, with Tesla, there was focus on the margins that they're making, and of course they continue to shrink a little bit, which the street didn't like very much. So Tesla sold off. Netflix had similar, not bad numbers, but again, some concerning issues, and it sold off as well. So as we ended the week, most markets were up for the week, but you can see the QQQs. I think the Netflix and Tesla kind of impacted all of the big tech names that have been pulling us higher here. So you can see actually the Qs ended up down on the week, where the Dow notched a really nice 2.1% gain. CAT has really been killing it, one of the biggest gainer in the Dow. And S&P eked out a bit of a gain, and IWM not a bad gain at 1.5%. So again, I think this is pretty reflective of some money rotation, money rotating out of the high-flying tech sector that's really dragged the market up in the first half of the year, and the money moving into some of the Dow names. And so that was a reflection of some money rotation. So we had healthcare and energy, some of the biggest gainers on the week. Healthcare, I think, you dragged higher UNH. And oil starting to pick back up again, price starting to come back up. So interestingly, healthcare and energy were the smallest gainers last week, and now they're the biggest gainers this week. Communication services, which was one of the bigger gainers last week, came out in the bottom. It was actually a loser on the week, including the consumer cyclical sector. So couple of downers for the week there on those two sectors. 2-year Treasury, it inched up a little bit there, 4.85. The 10-year was down, or actually no, it wasn't down. It was actually pretty much flat on the week overall. So that really no movement at all in the 10-year. U.S. dollar was up a little bit. You can see probably it had really sold off a lot, so maybe a bit of a dead cat bounce there, or it could be a reflection of the 2-year Treasury being up a little bit on the week there. So, and Bitcoin's kind of leaking off here. It says 30,000 on my chart, but it's actually trading a little bit below 30,000 right now. So the shine has come off after that bit of a pop on some news that maybe some ETFs were coming out there. So that was kind of the week in review. So let's move on here. And before we get going here, as always, like to do a quick plug for my book on Amazon, Profiting as an Active Trader. There it is, a guide to trading tools, money management, rules, strategies, and the routines of an active stock or options. Got a little bit of options thrown in there as well. So if you want to check that out, it's on Amazon. So let's start looking at some charts. Of course, as always, starting with the treasuries. And you can see here, we're still bumping our heads out here against the 5% level. It's kind of making its way up, still in an uptrend. And of course, that's in anticipation of more rate hikes, possibly past this one on Wednesday that we are probably going to get. It would be a surprise if we didn't get this quarter point hike. The Fed has been, I think, pretty clear that we are going to get another hike this coming week. The 10-year falling off a little bit. Again, the yield curve inverted. That means a short end is yielding higher than the long end. That's what they say is the sign of coming recession. It certainly hasn't shown up yet, but Again, this is possibility that there is a some recession coming. How deep it would be, again, unknown. Transports had a nice pop up on Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, kind of just chopping sideways. But on the week, again, nice strong week. We've been in a real strong uptrend on this pretty much for the last couple of months here, and breaking out from this prior level here of about 15,500. Transport's still looking strong, although this area here, 16.5, could be an area where we'll have some challenges getting through. The Dow, again, really nice move up. Some of the financials reporting this week, taking the Dow higher, as well as some of the other industrial stocks or other Dow names as well. Caterpillar is one that's really been strong. And you can see here, we've broken out. This was an area I flagged last week, 34,500 as a area of resistance, and we pushed healthily above that one. So we are coming up to another area of prior resistance up in this area, sort of 35,500, but the Dow clearly is where money is rotating into. And we did it on volume on Friday as well. Nice volume push on the week. The Qs, again, if money's rotating into the Dow, it's rotating out of the Qs. We had this drop after Netflix and Tesla reported. So you can see here the Qs have really been leading us higher, and now money is looking for another place to go, and obviously it's rotated into the Dow and maybe some small caps, the IWM as well. So Qs pulling back here. We may come back and test this moving average, 20 moving average here. But you can see on the week, pretty much topping action right at 390, 385 area. And again, we're probably going to pull back a little bit more as some of the other names report next week. It'll be interesting. We've got some more of the big movers that have really dragged this market higher. Meta, Amazon, to name a few that are, I believe Google is reporting next week. SPY, again, sort of, it does have some tech in it, and I think that's why we saw some selling here Thursday and Friday. Again, well off the highs of the week, but again, making a new high, or at least on this run, up another 2/3% on the week on the SPY. So again, trend is still to your friend, and it's still to the upside. IWM, a little bit of pullback Thursday, Friday, after a big pop-up here throughout the middle of the week. Again, we're right into an area where there's been some prior resistance right at this 198 level, 197.80, and that's basically 197.66 is where we failed on the week. And so this is probably an area that we'll be watching for a breakout, a breakthrough here next week, push higher, and we could be pushing up into this 205 level on the IWM. TNA or is a good way to play that if you want to really go with a beta trade ETF. And here's the VIX. The VIX again, the sort of the fear index, but really no sign of fear yet. Even on the week where we had the Qs pulled back a bit, and the SPY barely make any move. We did get a bit of a pullback here on the VIX. So again, not a lot of fear in the market for a big sell-off. You can see here the dollar, we kind of made a nice move back after this massive drop over the last week. Not last week, week before, and we've come back a little bit, but this area here seems like an area, 2750 is an area where it kind of wants to hold, and we may be just stuck in this range here right now on the dollar. And Bitcoin. Bitcoin's, again, it's just trading below 30,000 now. This is obviously an area where it's had some support here before, and every time it gets down to this sort of 29,500 level, it seems to pop back up again, but we are slowly rolling over here, so we'll see if that can hold. There is really no momentum. Our RSI indicator just at really just right middle of the range, 50. Stochastics, pretty oversold here, so we could get a bit of a bounce, but again, the stochastics can stay down as well. MACD may be curling up a little bit there, so something to keep an eye on. But Bitcoin struggling here to get past this sort of 31,000 level. Some of the ones that let's take a look at some of the stocks I'll be watching this week and over some of the trades I did last week here from Watchlist. You can see here Apple again sort of pulling back after this Tesla Netflix news. Again, Apple, one of the ones that's really been pulling us higher and now kind of stalling out as money looks for another place to go to make a dollar. And so this 195 level, we had a high here, 198, but pulled back significantly to close at 195. So this 195 level looks like resistance right now, so I'll be watching that. And 185 seems to be support, so possibility to sell some puts here, betting that there will be some significant support here on Apple. If you sold 195 calls, I would, or if a breakout above 195 could be a push up to, again, this 198.23 was where the high was. So again, Apple looking like it might be getting into a sort of a range bound situation. Airbnb, this was one that I looked at last week. I had it on my watch list when I was going through it last week, and it did break out here, so I took along here as we broke out and right up into this 150 level, and we almost got there. You can see 149.99 was the high, and so that was a good trade. Had an alert set on that one. Amazon's another one that's really been on a tear, and of course sold off Thursday, Friday with Netflix and Tesla. And again, this sort of 135 level looks like it will be resistance for now, and this 127, 128 level looks like it could be support, maybe even more safely down around 125 if you wanted to trade it with options, or looking for a long or a short trigger point. Google, sort of same comment again. Although it did, even though Tesla and Netflix reported it actually went up on Thursday. Excuse me, a bit of a surprise there. But again, sold off Friday, gave back most of the gains that it made on Thursday. So again, Google looks like it's sort of stuck in a range. It's the one that's been sort of, again, not so much as the other ones like Apple and Amazon really hasn't gotten the same sort of level of traction that some of the other big names have gotten. LYV, this is another one I had on a watch list from last week. Again, flagged this for a breakout through 90, 92, and said we'd get up to 100 would be the push. We almost got there, 98.81, so I'm long that one. And I will look to take some off on Monday, probably. I was hoping it would get into the 99s. Didn't quite get there, but another nice move on that watch list stock. And of course, here we had Morgan Stanley. This had the big earnings number. It came out, had a big day here on Tuesday, Wednesday, continuation Thursday. You can see each of these bars getting smaller and smaller, and then we actually had a bit of a doji candle. Just, you know, couldn't make another high. Kind of pulled back here. So I'm looking at sort of this prior level of resistance or support, which again became now has become resistance as we lost that level. So maybe 95 is a good area. It's kind of run out of gas here. 95 could be a good area to sell calls. If you wanted to protect yourself, you'd sell some calls above it or buy some calls above it just in case it did pop. But it looks like a big run from this 10% run up, and possibility for a little bit of a breather pullback there. NVIDIA, again, took a hit with the rest of the tech sector, the high-flying tech sector. And it looks like this 440 level, 440 level looks like a good area. I've currently sold some puts, some 410 puts right in this area. I've sold some 480 calls, and I suspect that 480 is going to be the area that's going to have trouble getting through. I think after these 2 days, I'm thinking that it's going to be difficult for all these high-flying tech stocks to move up, especially with money rotating out of them. They may have a bit of a pop here, but I think they're probably range-bound now. And but on the other hand, I don't think there's a lot of downside, which is why I picked this 410 put here. So going into next week, I'm short puts and calls on that one. NVIDIA, Rivian Rivian, I still have some long in a swing position. It is kind of holding here as long as we can hold above this 22 level, which is where I've sold puts before. As long as we can hold above sort of this, well, actually, as long as we can hold above this 23 level, because if we lose that, we'll be filling this gap down through 22. Tesla, again, Tesla had the report out on Wednesday night, Thursday, big sell-off, Friday, again, challenged here, but I think there's enough cachet in Tesla that it probably won't drop much more, maybe into this, if it does lose this 260 level, which it filled this gap here, it could drop down to 240, and if it lost 240, there's another gap here that it might even fill as well. But I think 250, 240 is probably a pretty solid area where Tesla, if it does happen to break down more, will find some support. And as I've been doing just in the last couple of weeks, I'm doing some sector features. So energy, looked at energy, one of my first ones. It really sold off late last week, a week before last, and then it just came roaring back here, and it looks like it's on the verge of breaking out. We did have these prior highs here, and we actually closed above it. So watch energy for next week. It could push higher. Financials obviously had benefits from that was my feature from last week, obviously benefited from the various big financial institutions. So I think it's a little extended now. And XLY is my new feature of the week. It's really, you can see here we topped out on the Wednesday, and then of course it took a hit Thursday with Tesla and Netflix, and then it's down again. I think it could actually maybe sell off some more here, although it is into an area of prior support. I think we could see an area down around 167 for major support on XLY. And that's it for our stocks on watch for this coming week. So let's wrap things up here. July 24th, what we got coming down the pipe. It's going to be an interesting week for sure. There's your indexes, support and resistance levels. But Monday, we've got some PMI numbers coming out, and Tuesday, consumer confidence, Wednesday, housing starts, and of course, Wednesday is a big day. We get the FOMC interest rate hike decision. As I've mentioned already, pretty much quarter point is completely expected, and I don't think anything's going to change there. Fed Powell will be speaking after that, and I think there could be some volatility. People will be looking to see if he is striking a hawkish tone or a dovish tone going forward. So that'll maybe move the markets around as he starts to talk. Thursday, we've got the usual jobless claims, some sales data, a lot of sales data, different aspects of the economy, and then pending home sales at 10. And then Friday, the big PCE price index data for the month. This is the number that the Fed are favored. They favor this number for inflation gauge. And of course, so that'll be a big focus before the market open Friday. And then we've got consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. So, and of course, we're into the thick of earnings season. I've already mentioned a number of times. There's your prominent companies that are going to be reporting this week. So we've got, the big ones like Microsoft, Google, which have all been dragging the market higher as well. And of course, quite a smattering of stuff like BA and Coke, Meta and Chipotle Grill, and just all sorts of interesting stuff being reported this week. So should lend itself for lots of volatility. So that's it, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. 8 o'clock, we will be starting again Monday morning, pre-market show. And of course, trading the market open with our members at 9:30. And of course, this is the week we will be, the weekend, we'll be doing the New York meetup. Hopefully, some of you out there will be joining us in New York. Lots of good speakers, lots of great information in this 2-day meetup, including trading the market open. So hopefully you can join us there. You can check that out on our website if you haven't yet. So that's it, everyone. And again, have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll hopefully see you Monday morning.